I just finished watching 1998's Pi, the movie, and boy am I tired. Welcome to another Canadian Computer Collector. I, of course, am your host, the Canadian Computer Collector. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different, which now feels like something I've said in every single video up to this one. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone to like and subscribe, please. It goes a long way to help. We're going to do a little bit of a studio tour and a collection update. Been a while since I've kind of gone through the machines that I have floating around this place. And let me tell you, floating around this place is a really good way of putting it. We're going to take a look at the area that I film these videos in, as well as the area that I edit in, and just how I've more or less got an apartment overflowing with computer junk.
Ladies.
The reason I'm wearing this bandana today was this morning the tap water was brown, so I couldn't have a bath, and therefore my hair was crazy. It's also like 35 degrees outside. So here we are, wearing a head bandana.
Ladies.
So what do you think, Winslow? Should we get right into this?
Yes.
Let's do it. So join me, if you will, as we go behind the lens and take a look at how the magic really happens. All right, let's get it started. Okay, first up, this is the desk. This is where everything happens. So here's an Atari 520 ST that was recently donated to the channel, so shout out to Kyle, thank you so much for that. I have not worked on an Atari yet, but I'm very eager to learn how these machines work. What makes them tick, you know what I mean? This is a lamp. Over here we have a black MacBook that I'm hoping to build a complete machine out of. I have 3 other white MacBooks of the same vintage, and I want to make one working machine with them. I'm hoping this monitor works, because the monitors do not work on the other 3, and that could really put a nail in the coffin on this project. This is a cat. Over here, behind the Atari 520 ST monitor, we have an old Sony radio, as well as a disc caddy, and then a bunch of jazz discs, courtesy of my friend Mr. Fahrenheit. These are full of old Apple software. It's a gold mine of stuff, and he's actually looking to start producing these and make them available to the public, so maybe that'll be something we announce in the future. Who knows? This is an old Bakelite radio. Doesn't work, but if you don't know Bakelite, it's a pre-plastic material that helped win the war. So if you don't know much about Bakelite, Google it. This is the 2007 24-inch iMac donated by a family member, which I cleaned up and we put a solid state in on the channel. Currently using it kind of as like a background graphic for filming videos. I think the first time I used it was on the Mac Yak podcast. So shout out to those guys. Thank you so much. I will try and say logic board as often as possible. Down here in this little shelving unit is a bunch of random stuff. So we have old Apple boxes. This is a 2C monitor box. What do we have? A Apple Local Talk locking cable kit, 10 meters. Accessory kit, video accessories, just for interest's sake. These are kind of cool. There's nothing exciting going on here, but they are in good shape. It's an original box with the manual, and everything's still nice and crisp like it was made yesterday. Then we have, like a microphone, I'm pretty sure this is. Yeah, everyone has those. These, I believe, are some cassettes. Hyper Easy, Macintosh Learning Series, and Hyper Easy, Macintosh Learning Series. Yeah, that's exciting. These are all empty boxes on this row. These boxes have the phones in them, and these all range from the Apple 3, 3G to the 3GS to the 4 to the 4S, 5, 6, but it doesn't go higher than 6. These were all just mint phones that were super cheap on a local buy sell, and I wanted to pick up. Moving on to the Apple Monitor 3. One of 3 in the collection. Down here we have, this is the original iPhone. Only sold in the United States, so not that common here in Canada. This is, I believe, a 3rd gen Ipod Classic, an old shuffle, and this is the first cell phone I ever owned. Big old dent in the back. Down here, we have a box of mice. Lots and lots of mice. If I could get the lid off. Boy, those Sterlites make a sturdy bin. So everything in here from, you know, G3 puck mice to wireless and some even older. These are, I believe, yeah, stats software with the 5 3/4 manuals. And then here, this is hilarious. This is a binder for Final Cut Express, but look how thick this is. I have not read this, and I hate to say it, folks. I never will. But there's a lot of information in there that someone might want someday, and it would be a shame to just throw it out. So moving along, this keyboard I use to power up this machine because for some reason it will not do it without the keyboard. It just says you need to attach a keyboard and we'll let you log in. These keyboards just came back from a movie rental and I had them stored in a large Tupperware. Oh my god, I did it again. I've done 2 takes here. This is the second one. Not a Tupperware. I have a large Rubbermaid bin. But the problem was they were getting crushed and these are starting to get really hard to find, so I pulled them out of there. I just got to figure out what to do with them now. This is a G4 iMac. I believe this is the 17-inch model, not the 20. I would still love to get a 20. Right next to it are 2 color classics with a keyboard for testing and starting them up, as these need to use the keyboard start key to turn on. Just below them, well actually I should say 2. These 2 have been recapped. Their boards are actually hanging out down here. They're just waiting to go in, which we're going to do in a video. Down here we have a duodock and an old PowerBook, some Firewire cables, the display adapter for the Workgroup Server 6150, 66. We have a bin full of power cords, and we have cables, and cables, and cables. These are just extra screws from projects, which you shouldn't have any of, but, you know, I do. Less and less each time we do things. Lots of just random electronic junk in there. Down here we have some recap motherboards. So this is one of the Color Classic boards. I believe the one below is 2, and then there's also an LC475 board that my friend Mr. Fahrenheit has upgraded with some heat sinks and a quicker processing speed. A couple LC475s hanging out together. One of them's already been recapped, the other one down here is waiting for that other board to go in it. Tools, batteries, rear clips for the Color Classics, mice for testing stuff, tools, cleaning materials, fire extinguisher, you know, all that kind of stuff. Down here is a bunch of displays. We have cinema displays and studio displays here. I'm just gotta back up a bit. The focus is just getting a little tough. But the further you go in, the more there are. This is the broken Mac Pro case from the last video we put out. Not sure what I'm going to do with this as of yet, but that was donated as part of the job by Mr. Fahrenheit, so once again, thank you very much. Next to it is an X-Serve server, a rack server missing 2 of the hard drive excuse me, missing 2 of the hard drive drawers. Try and say that a million times fast. Don't know what I'm going to do with that either, but we'll have some fun with it eventually. This corner, we feature the Power Mac G5, the empty Macintosh 2 CI case, which I do have plans for. I want to put a modern Apple computer in there, I'm just not sure which. Workgroup Server 95, the most brittle plastic I've experienced thus far, and probably the rarest machine in the collection right now. Moving on up, we have 2 original 128Ks, and I've confirmed that the motherboards, the logic boards in these are the originals. So these are really tough to find machines. I was super lucky to come across the 2 that I have right now. They came from an old school teacher, so very pleased with that. Up top is the 6150-66 server that we did the 2-part restoration on, and then this really cool power adapter. So this is basically a really big power bar that swivels. You put a monitor on top, and you can lock out different pieces of your setup, and everything on the back is labeled as well. So you have computer, monitor, printer, 2 aux, and then a master. Really neat piece of old school retro tech. Down here we have an airport. We have a old Core 2 Duo Mac Mini, a time capsule, 2 Apple IICs, and my third one is currently with a movie production. Then a bunch of iBooks ranging from G3 to G4 era, and then I believe the metal one's an early Intel, or it could be, you know, something a wizard made. I have no idea. I haven't turned it on yet. Mac Classic and a Classic 2. These both just came back from, once again, Miss Fahrenheit from a recap. And we're going to take a look at those things in another video in the future. The shell and remaining internals from the 6116 CD, whose logic board I borrowed for the server restoration. We have a Tandy Coco sitting up top. Now, right behind the classics are a Mac SE and an SE30. The SE30's logic board is currently with Steve from the Mac 84 channel. He's going to be taking a look at that at some point. Behind the 128Ks are 2 Macintosh Pluses that are both in really nice shape. So you can see a little bit of the corner here. We've got a Tandy joystick. Underneath it is the world's smallest printer, the TTX Express. A G4 Cube, G3 era studio display, wireless keyboard from a more modern iMac, a cat box. Make sure you scoop every day, folks. These are the 3 white MacBooks that I'm hoping to make that one complete machine out of. Some speakers from the Cube, I believe. Got an Imac, which we cleaned up and polished in an old video, an original Apple poster. Down here, sneaking in the back, is a G3 clamshell, which we also put a solid state in on another video. Moving along, we've got an Apple IIc color monitor, which I do have the box for as well. Really nice shape, oddly enough. A classic 2C monitor, and without a stand. So the other one that I have does have a stand. That's with the movie production as well. Nice little airport, I believe. Yeah, airport base station. A Google Home Mini thing that I'll probably never use because I hate the idea of it. LC520. This one's been recapped as well. Great machine, just super heavy. Chewbacca hanging out. A couple G4 towers, or should I say a few. Up top we've got a bunch of broken plastic and screws. You know, iPod shuffle case. Another airport base station. And there's the iPod Shuffle. Right up top, what are we looking at? We've got a bunch of random iPhones and an iPod Touch, I believe, a 15-inch G4 iMac. Got an Apple IIe with the Duo Disc and the Apple II monitor. An Apple IIe with the Monitor 3, as well as the plastic stand. And over here you can see there's a Disc 2. It's just sitting underneath some Nintendo 64 games and a couple Game Boys. One thing that I like to point out about these 2Es, the keyboard layout is different on each one because they are of a different generation. So it's a shining example of innovation over the years. So this is basically the filming area. This is where I try and keep most of the computer stuff because I don't want it to overtake my entire apartment. But you'll see that there is a little bit of that creeping in still. So if we move over here, got one of Winslow's cat beds, as well as a G3 iMac that I cleaned up in a very early video. Down here, we've got a Tandy 1000, some crappy PC, and a bunch of books. And then moving behind the lights, we've got kind of my low-end Mac ecosystem. So we have a 2010 Polycarbonate Macbook, which I use for writing and different client projects. Late 2013 iMac. This machine I'm using a lot more than I thought I would because the PPI on the monitor is so high compared to the 4K LG monitor that I use on my desktop. It's just way easier on the eyes. And then this is a 12.9-inch first-gen iPad Pro, which I have to say is probably my favorite piece out of this whole low-end Mac ecosystem. Speaking of low-end, check out that cable management, folks. Sometimes I like to play Minecraft. I think this is a fantastic book if you're looking to get into building styles and learn some architecture in that sort of blocky style. 22-inch cinema display, just hanging out, or this studio display. I don't know, it's late at night. Either way, 22-inch display, which I use for testing things from the G4, G5 era, and anything else that'll work on it. I'm a big Warhammer player, so inside this case is a good sampling of some of the stuff I've got going on. I got an Orc Army, Dark Eldar, or Drakari as they're called, Death Guard, and Blood Angels. So fun stuff there. This is kind of the Warhammer workbench. This is the waiting to be loved section. Lots of stuff to get to. Two of my favorite posters I picked up from a local artist. Deco Echoes on Etsy, if you're interested in something like that. He also did the poster right over here, the Telefunken. Oh, this is some shaky, awful video. Down below, we have the Inwin Q500 server case with a Windows 98 machine built into it, and a lovely matching ergonomic Microsoft keyboard with an old school mouse. Some random PCs, a nice little IBM machine that's waiting for some love. Over here are a couple white Imacs and where I keep my airbrush ducting when I'm not using the airbrush. Some wireless keyboards, big old CRT flat screen monitor. Very useful in this era. And not. So jumping back a bit, this is where I do most of my video editing and everything. This is my PC setup. So we have a little bed for Winslow to hang out, keyboard, mouse, Windows 95 background, low-end Mac open in a tiny little square. Blue microphone that I like to use, the Yeti Snowball. Glasses. This is my work laptop, which I can flip between this and my desktop, just not using the HDMI settings. And here she is. This is the desktop PC. Not exactly a showstopper, but you know what? It's still fairly modern. It's a 6th gen quad-core i5-6500 with 32 gigs of RAM and terabyte solid state plus a spinning disk of 8 terabytes that can store footage and all that kind of stuff, and a 1070 video card. So it's not top of the line, but it's still quite relevant IMO. So let's move along through the living room, and I'll just give you a shot of the front of that bad boy. Oh yeah, love that case still. Alright, over here is kind of a smattering of things. This is a really cool piece. I wish I had the top for it, but it's a 20 SC external hard drive. And then a whole bunch of G3 iMacs, one 1st gen with the tray loader, the rest are all slot. A couple monitors, this basket, apparently, and stuff I'm selling on eBay. So, if anyone's looking for Flight Simulator 2 without the discs, or Super Text with the discs, talk to this guy. Some Warhammer stuff. June the cat is meeting us out here because we're going to go look at stuff in the boxes. So in this cupboard is where I keep all of my boxed stuff. So not all of these have machines in them, but some of them do. But we've got a Laser 128EX box, which I don't have a machine for. I would really like to get one. Commodore 64, which is there. The Apple IIc color monitor, which you saw on the shelf. A G5 iMac, which is in there too. Classic 2 box, which you saw on the shelf. iMac G4 box, which was on the shelf. On the other side, we've got a Macintosh SE box, which again you saw on the shelf. The VIC-20. This is actually in here with a bunch of games. A Macintosh Plus. Down here we have a StyleWriter, color StyleWriter 2500 box with nothing in it. This weird PC, which I've not been able to find anything really about. I saw 1 or 2 things that picked up in old PDFs of magazines, but that's it. It's a Head Start by Vendex, the Turbo 888 XT. So if you know anything about this thing, let me know in the comments for sure. And then tucked behind there is a 27-inch 2011 iMac. And in the entrance here, we've got a Commodore printer, the 1526. I have not really set up any Commodores as of yet. I do have the two in that cupboard there, but who knows if that thing even works. Alright, that's a wrap on this one. Thank you for joining me for the studio tour. I know it was pretty long, and in the time of the video, I apparently had my hair cut. I'd like to give a big shout out to Mr. Fahrenheit, Wayno from Texas, as well as Justin. Thank you so much, guys, for buying me a coffee this week. You know, it's gentlemen like you with such an unshaking interest in the arts that make these things possible. You guys seem like great guys, you know, people who would invent breakfast cereals for a living, or work at the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I can only assume these things as, you know, I don't know everything about you, but I know about what drives you, and that is goodness. If the world's ever getting you down, Justin, Wayno, or Mr. Fahrenheit, remind yourself, you donated to this guy. So on that unwavering trade wind of support, I would like to usher us out of this show as it's already gone pretty long, so thanks again everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you do want to support the channel, check out the link below in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your life. Nice little foldy chicken wing there, June. Is this a little chicken wing?